Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to our Soccer's Overtime Summer Zoom Quarantine as we continue here through the endless months of 2020. Craig Elston joined on Travis Pittman Week by the man himself. It's Travie P. Travis Pittman. What's going on, my friend? It is a true pleasure to see you.
As well. I missed your face, but more your voice. But, no, everything's been great. However, walking around with masks, can't breathe too much. Now I can finally coach small group training. That's been good to get out. But again, it's definitely been a tough time, especially since they took my one beloved joy, my football, away from me. So that's been tough to cope with big time. I miss my teammates, the coaches, the staff, everyone. We got into a routine, 8 a.m. training, going on trips, playing, and then they just took it away. So finally I'm adapting a little bit, but fingers crossed something can happen.
It's incredible, Travis, because I just think about how much things have changed. And if you just think back to the first week of February, you and I and the rest of the Soccers, we were in Monterey, we were in Hermosillo, then we were in Phoenix, then we were in Orlando, then we were in Lakeland, we were everywhere. We were bouncing around this country. A week later, 2 weeks later, we were in Texas. And now, I don't want to be in any of these places. And it just kind of blows my mind how much has changed in 4 months. Where right now, if you said to me, take a trip to Monterey, I'd be like, keep your tickets and I'll stay right here.
Exactly. We were cruising, definitely. But, out of nowhere, we're all quarantined. I don't even want to peek my head outside, let alone open the door, So it's definitely some scary times, but hopefully we're, coming through it. We're in the last stretch, but, it's 2020 has definitely been a tricky one.
For sure. Let me ask you as we kind of wade into this stuff, because as you mentioned, everyone wants to see, obviously, the COVID outbreak end. And none of us, save the epidemiologists, have any smart ideas on when that's going to happen. However, the world continues apace. And in July, we now expect to see MLS play a World Cup type tournament in Orlando. We expect to see the NBA play at Walt Disney World. And MLB is now talking about playing across the country in home ballparks without fans. Speaking as a professional athlete who's had everything shut down, when you see that, and then at the same time you see 3 Rockies players tested positive for COVID yesterday, 8 Phillies players tested positive for COVID, and they shut down their camp. Nikola Jokic of the Nuggets has tested positive for COVID. Now maybe he doesn't play for the Nuggets, their number 1 player, an MVP candidate. Is it even possible for us to think structurally about sports and team sports? I mean, I feel like the disease isn't listening to any of us.
Yeah. That's a tough question, and I like it. I think possibly play at your own risk. I know financially for people, a lot of people, if they don't play, they don't get paid. So, again, I think play at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable playing, if you're on the team as a Rockies player who has COVID and you don't play, there has to be some type of, for me, mutual agreement that, the players can still make a living. But, it's difficult, Craig. I mean, you hear about Italy was one of the first, countries who were protesting, and then it spread like rapid fire, and then, terrible thing happened, and, it happens over here. And, we unfortunately had to protest and rally, and then who knows if it'll spread again. So from a player standpoint, you play at your own risk. I know if there was a COVID Cup happening, you'd see me there right away. But it's definitely nothing to play around with and very serious. But fingers crossed we're, through the home stretch of some type of, maintaining of it, and, so.
Yeah, well, let's talk about our league a little bit. In that, I have heard that free agency could be beginning soon. In a couple of weeks, that would, by definition, I would say, mean the league would be then abandoning any thoughts of having an actual playoff. Now, you mentioned a COVID Cup, and I think that might still be on the table as a possibility somewhere maybe later in the summer. But do you feel comfortable with that, that maybe it's time for us to move into free agency in the MASL and start to get ready for 2020, 2021 and crossing our fingers that we can have a 2020, 2021 season?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, again, it's tough. I mean, who ever thought this would happen? But, just kind of, I guess, do it as we've always done in hopes and in positivity of us playing our next season. So it'll be tough if we do that, and then players are traded or signed or what have you, and then, we regress again and we don't play. So that'll be a tricky part. Maybe sign them and trade them or what have you. And then if it doesn't work, I guess everything's just a wash, or, that's a tough one as well. But I hope that we continue to do as we used to do, despite this pandemic that we've gone through.
I know. I'm just lining up all these tough questions for you. I'm so sorry.
No, I like them. I don't like, it's not a picnic. It's a real thing. So
yeah, this is the world we're living in. That is for sure. Okay, so to wit, let's now talk about the club, because 2019, 2020, I feel like now we're almost at that point where we're going to all accept the reality that's in front of us, which is that there's not going to be a champion, that no one's going to hold up the Ron Newman Cup in 2020. And as such, it's truly an unwritten chapter to me in soccer's history, because here is this club that went on the toughest schedule in the history of the MASL, that had some moments of greatness, and really a team that was terrific at home after its first game, but also a club that struggled sometimes on the road, right? And lost at Baltimore, lost at Monterey, lost in Florida, lost in Texas to Mesquite. Those are real things that happen, but at the same time, I just find it impossible, basically, Travis, for me to say whether this season was going to shape up to be a roaring success or whether it was uneven and destined to be a low year. And I don't know, from a player perspective, how you try and break it down in your head.
I think the lows definitely make the highs. And I think that's part of what makes a championship and winning so successful is, going through the trenches of the low points of the season and then digging yourself out of them and, making it through that and, eventually winning the championship. So hopefully, right? So I think we're at the point in the season where we were digging ourselves out of that trench after, that long away stretch. So I believe fully if the season continued and going into playoffs, I think we were hitting our peak at the right moment.
Good stuff. Now, Travis, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You're now 2 seasons here in San Diego. You've had that chance to acclimate. You've developed your personal roots in San Diego. You mentioned very briefly your coaching roots, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we continue. But are you, as a very proud Manassas, Virginia native, you bring it up a little bit, how do you feel now as a San Diegan? Do you feel acclimated to our region?
Very much so. Ever since I came here, everybody was welcoming me with arms wide open. So with the Soccers, the front staff, people I've met outside of soccer, it's just a very warm, loving community. So I wouldn't be anywhere else, honestly.
I love to hear that. How do you feel you have developed over the last couple of years? We know what you can bring to the floor, but from a personal level, how do you feel that you've developed?
I think I've matured a lot. I used to, especially playing, I'd take advantage of getting to play in different cities. That got tiring and a little old. So the fact that I could have, kind of made this my final stop, I think, outside, it's, I have to get, my coaching job and create different relationships just to, through the community. And yeah, I think it's matured me. I think it's made me a better people surrounding myself around San Diegans. They have great outlook on life. They got great vibes all the time. So that's the people I want to surround myself with. And I think that has just enhanced myself as a better person and more mature person.
I mean, you've taken a lot of personal steps off the floor as well, haven't you, over the last 2 years?
I have, yes. In particular.
Well, I'm just thinking about, settling down a little bit, having a little bit of a family, having a little bit of a steady relationship, and
yes, I do. My fiance is pregnant, so she's due December 25th, possibly. I know, right? But I don't like to not jinx, but I just pray for a healthy child, healthy family. So
absolutely. If he or she lands on December 25th, is there Jesus then at that point? Jesus?
I think it fits. I think it's only right. No, just again, any date, any time, just the ultimate thing is the health and then the happiness. So
absolutely. Have you started to think about parenthood?
Oh yeah, all the time. But I'm taking care of a 4-year-old now. I call her mine. Her name is Ella, and she's great. But again, that's part of the maturity. Funny, I talked to Cheeky. He has a newborn. So I he's kind of helped me out. He's like, a lot's gonna change. So, but yeah, I'm pumped. I can't wait. So, and I see Craig's twins running around, his daughter. I'm like, this is gonna be great. I want to see mine running around on the field after the games as well. So, yeah, nothing but smiles over here with that.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you've got so many proud papas on this team. I'd say you actually have a lot of solid role models you can lean upon.
Yeah, I actually I've met Pollo's kid one time. But yeah, Craig Farber has great kids. I've seen Ray's. So I mean, the list goes on. It's just, but again, I think Pee Wee's got one or two. But yeah, I mean, that just goes in hand with the great people on the team. I mean, you got great players, you got great people off the field as well as on the field. And that relates to the kids, and the kids are great kids too. So I'm happy my kid will, get to be a part of that. So
that's incredible, my friend. That is tremendous. Couple other questions. Last October, we all got to share in a journey together, which was the opportunity to participate in the WMF World Cup down in Australia, and for yourself to wear the Stars and Stripes to represent the United States in that tournament. Obviously, it was a great tournament for the Sockers in terms of Team Mexico winning and so many of our teammates celebrating and lifting that cup. It wasn't a great tournament for the United States. We got knocked out in the quarters. There were some uneven moments along the way for Team USA for our 2 weeks in Perth. But now that you reflect on that, a good solid 8 months down the road, what do you think about that experience?
Only positive, minus the flies. The flies out there, I don't know what the deal was, Craig. They just would not leave you alone. I'm talking everywhere all the time. But no, it's a beautiful country. I think the tournament was well done. I would have liked to see maybe more advertisement for the tournament there. But as far as the quality you saw, especially through Czech Republic and, Mexico had a great team. The Eastern European teams, it was really awesome to witness their technical ability. Those guys were fantastic. And then our team, you're playing with some of the greats. So, we fell a little short. I think our last game against Czech Republic should have gone a different way. That's tough, though. But I think if we keep a solid group, the next World Cup could easily be ours. So, just the guys off the field, getting to know even Slav. That was the first time I got to meet him. We spent a lot of time together. It was a great group. So that made the trip. However, as a competitor, as an athlete, you always want to win. So that was disappointing. but you stay positive, you keep a good core group. Next one I think could be ours. So a lot of the guys also play with the boards, so that was a little different, a little adjustment. But again, the more repetition, the more experience you get, the easier it becomes, or the more familiar it becomes, and then I believe the next one we could be successful.
I tell you what, I mean, I've got a couple of different reactions that popped into my head. One, kind of bending back to the beginning of our conversation and how crazy and uncertain the world is right now. Like, the one thing that we seem to have figured out in 3.5 months is that outdoors is better than indoors. So things happening outdoors less likely to transmit than things happening indoors. And then I think about that beautiful park out at Langley Park in Perth, and I think about that outdoor field, and I'm like, is there something that we could do here? Because I mean, it wouldn't work in some places, but in San Diego, you could put a field outside, wherever, Balboa Park, down on the beach, wherever you want, and it could, I mean, it could work. It could work.
It could. Absolutely right. If we were to host, I think it'd be fantastic, especially here. I mean, you already have so many outdoor fields. You just cut down the boards, even though I'm a fan of the boards, because if you know how to use the boards, it's vital.
Absolutely.
But a few years ago we won with the boards, and there was a lot of stigma to that. So if we were to do one here, it would be interesting if we were to not use the boards. And the more familiar we get not using the boards, I think we would, we'd be a tough competitor.
Are you interested? The next WMF World Cup is scheduled for next year in Ukraine. Now, set aside all of the COVID, and just, we won't deal with that as a variable. But assuming a world where you could travel to Ukraine, is that something you'd be interested in?
Craig, absolutely. I think you're put on this world. They have so many different places on this world, and the fact that we're privileged to play soccer as well. I think it'd be an opportunity missed if we were to not go. I know they've had their problems on their own, non-COVID, but yeah, I think that would be a trip of a lifetime. Just any trip outside the United States, you get to experience different cultures, different terrains of the country. So I think it'd be a great time, and again, just competing is what I love to do. So especially around a great group representing the badge in the United States, that'd be a 100% yes all day, every day.
My answer would be, as long as we're all together, I'll go anywhere with you guys.
As long as Radio Man is there.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. As long as I'm there, then the tournament can go. Let's really put the cards on the table face up. You have an opportunity in your position to both attack and defend. And I'm curious, who are some of the toughest guys in the league that you have experienced that you have to play against when it comes time to mark them up?
That's a good question. I think isolation, one-on-one wise, I think Juan Pereira with the Baltimore Blast. I think when that guy's on, he's tough to stop. When he's confident in his zone, I've seen that guy do some fantastic things. I think I forget his name. He plays for the Dallas Sidekicks.
The little kid, Lupe, the new kid, or?
Yeah, he was pretty good because he's so quick and agile. He was, but again, if you learn to force him opposite foot, it's a little easier. But that guy's quick, and he can get some pretty good shots off pretty quick. So I think he was a top one. And then there was one more. I think actually those are the two tops for me. I mean, they're fast, they're athletic, they're technically sound, and they're smart. So those are two of the ones that I've actually was like, okay, hey guys, if you don't mind helping me off my shoulder, that'd be great. So, but no, there's fantastic players all over the league. So, but just the first two that came to my mind were those.
And just a couple other things. The Sockers have developed this great rivalry with the Fury. It was a bit of a one-sided rivalry. This year, Ontario was able to win once in preseason, and they did win the last time that the Sockers and the Fury met up at Toyota Arena. how do you see that SoCal derby shaking out now that Ontario has taken a bit of a step forward?
Yeah, Ontario definitely improved from the year before. But I think it kind of goes hand in hand with where the soccer's. So every time a team plays the soccer's, we're going to get their best shot. So I do think it'll be a better rivalry than before with the additions they made. I think Frank, Uzi, they helped the team as well. But yeah, I think if we're on our game, then we could beat anybody. But as far as the the trash talk, stuff like that, they're always going to be our rival, and it's always going to be a fun match against them.
For sure. Now, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but before we let you go, I know you're doing some private coaching. Let folks know who are watching, because I tell you what, as the father of an 8-year-old boy who's going to be 9 tomorrow, getting him in some safe and responsible way out of the house, sounds like a really good idea. We're just battling to keep him off the iPad all day, to make him go on a walk with me at least once a day. But so for all of those parents watching who are like me, who have a school-aged son or daughter and are interested in soccer, what are you doing in terms of coaching? How can they get a hold of you?
So my Instagram, it's TravyP117. It's TravyYYP117. You can direct message me there. But yeah, I love working with the kids. What gets me is seeing them improve, and then if I can help them, be a better person outside of soccer during the training, that's important to me as well. So, it's something I love to do. I've traveled a lot of different places, played different countries, met and played with and been coached by some of the best. So I'd like to give that experience and knowledge back to them. So, it's something I love to do. Again, it's TravyP117, TravyYYP117. But yeah, coaching teams with Del Mar and then doing privates is, it gives me joy. So I love to do it.
Awesome.
And we can talk about your son after this. Great.
Yeah, well, so far all he's had is me and him kicking the ball against the wall every day. I mean,
that's the best. That's how I grew up. You're on the right track.
Yeah. I mean, he's been starting to get a little bit tougher. We go out there, we play. It's essentially like a handball game, right? Except it's using your foot, you're smashing it against the wall, trying to get it past the other guy. So, yeah, my touch, by the way, has improved significantly as a result.
Greg, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. You learned Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been watching Pollo. Old videos.
Yeah, I don't have Pollo's turn down yet, but I've at least figured out how to shoot the ball. I mean, which is something I had not learned for 47 years. So I've learned to shoot the ball now. So
I remember there's a time once upon a time ago that I heard through the grapevine you tried to play goalie in the sports arena. However, I do like the fact that I hear that you're improving, passing against the wall, and shooting. So I think that may be a forte, but, it's all through the grapevine. Who knows?
Yeah, I have had 2 very ill-fated appearances inside the cage, and I'd like to never show up there again. Please, God.
Let's say you hung your gloves up, huh? Not the cleats.
Yes, exactly. The gloves are only held up in prayer now. Please, God, don't put me in bed.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh, Travis Pittman, thank you so much. This has been a total pleasure. Travie P Week, enjoy. You're going to see that incredible flick over the head of Kiros to the left-footed bomb over Toth. That'll be one of the videos that we share this week as I go through and I call some highlights. But I hope you enjoy seeing your name in lights in our social media this week, and thanks so much for the interview.
Thanks, Craig.